Mm-hmm. We are live.
Oh, we are live. Welcome once again to the Wisdom Factory and our encore edition today of Conscious Aging, our series where we attempt to present as diverse views on getting older as we can think of that deserve to be heard as widely as possible. I'm with my partner,
Heidi Hohenlein.
Yeah, and I'm Mark Davenport. And we think someone richly deserving to be widely heard is our guest today, and that is Michael Wolff. So before continuing, let's first ask him to say hi so you can see him on the screen. Say hi, Michael.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michael. Looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Okay. And before we continue, Heidi, tell people how they can engage in the show.
Yeah. So in case you are on YouTube, please don't write comments there because we don't monitor them at the moment, but go to the Wisdom Factory and there in the menu, click on live streaming, and that will bring you to the page where you can leave your comments and ask your questions, and Michael will answer them.
That's the wisdomfactory.net.
The wisdomfactory.net.
Right.
This way? This way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And just a reminder, this is our last series, last episode of Conscious Aging for the summer. It will be off until autumn, and then we'll return with some occasional more. And
actually, no, we will redo another encore series. We have already 5 people who have said they would come. So from October to December to, let's say, Christmas, we probably will have another very interesting series with new approaches. No, what do you say? New perspectives on aging, ageism, healing, health, whatever is connected with that.
Yeah.
But in between, we haven't stopped broadcasting. We just have to continue. We will have other 2 weeks, other 2 Fridays, where we will broadcast episodes in the series Conversations That Matter.
Yeah.
And during the summer break, we once or then, how do you say, every now and then, we will offer you some events, but they won't be weekly because we need some holiday too.
And so do you. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to say, in October we switched the day and we will continue the series on Thursdays. So I think we have said everything. Now you can get over to our guest, who I have muted. Before you speak, you need to unmute yourself on the top of the screen.
Better mute me because I'm going to sneeze.
Okay.
Maybe. Okay.
So, before, do we introduce our guest or let me do him?
Well,
we're lazy today.
Yeah, we're a little lazy. We usually, do a little background banter about our guests, but we're taking an unusual approach for us and asking him to start at the beginning and just tell us what happened. And I guess that takes us right back to Nairobi in Kenya. Is that right?
Well, maybe I'll just start just saying where I am now, and then we might get back to Nairobi.
Okay.
And how you came from fear to love? That's the second question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing now is addressing the question, what does it take to help the quantum shift in individual and collective consciousness? Because we're talking about a quantum shift, we're talking about what does it take to do it now, i.e., and now in terms of evolutionary time can stretch it a little bit, 4 or 5 years. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at the moment, and I see myself as a trainer of quantum shift facilitators. So that is people who can facilitate groups and train them to become facilitators who can train others, so that we can then get this out as wide as possible throughout the world. Because if we're going to actually have a collective shift, i.e. everybody, then we need to be able to have some mechanism for rolling it out as fast as possible. So that's where I'm at the moment. Okay. So
we were muted for a moment there. So,
Okay.
and so you have a network of teachers out there that you've.
Well, so what I'm doing is I'm at the early stage of creating the first facilitator training program, and these are groups of up to 12 people. And my goal in the next 2 years is to have attracted and trained 200 people, some 200 people, because that is kind of what I think is enough to start triggering the whole process.
Okay.
Okay, and so let us know first of all how you got there, and then what the process is about.
Okay, so I'm 72 years old, and it's taken me almost 72 years to get to that thinking. The first 35 years of my life, I'd say I was pretty well like everybody else. And now, I mean, I didn't think of it at the time, but now I describe myself as being very disconnected. And I'd had both inherited and created one or two wounds, emotional wounds in my life, which I didn't even realize were there. And these were driving me and determining who I was, how I thought, what my habits were, what my behavior patterns were, who I attracted in my life, etc. And then up to that time, I was pretty successful, and I was in business, and I was a CEO of a very successful telecoms company. And I'd say I was pretty like everybody else. And then, again, like everybody else, somewhere in midlife, one has a little crisis. And I had a sort of business challenge where I was selling the company and moving into something else. And I was getting quite stressed. And at that time, I was doing a lot of exercise. I was playing squash, running, and all that sort of thing, very macho stuff. And my wife, in her wisdom, suggested I might try and go and do some yoga. And I thought, my God, I don't know what you're talking about. If my friends see me doing yoga, I'd be dead. So, as it so happens, in my squash club, there was, I noticed it once, coming in, you go in the door, and there's a brown curtain. And then behind the brown curtain, there's a door, and it goes into a yoga class there. It's just a small room, and there's a yoga class. So I thought, well, that's very convenient. What I'll do, when nobody's looking, I'll nip behind the curtain, and I'll go in and try and see what happens. So the one good thing about it was there are quite a few pretty girls there. So I was able to overcome my my reticence for doing it. And I stuck it out for about 3 months, and I was making quite good progress. And then my wife, she was, I don't know how she comes to do it. She'd just given birth to our second child, and about 3 months into it. And one of her friends was doing a new thing at that time called Aikido, which is a Japanese martial art. And she started doing it. She took the baby there and the thing in the class, and she said, why didn't I try that? So I said, well, that's fantastic. So I went along, and in Aikido, you have to kneel on the mat. And I tried to kneel on the mat. I found my legs were so stiff, I couldn't kneel. Okay, so that was a bit of a shock to me. And so I went back to the yoga, and I did that for a few more months, and then went back to the Aikido. And to cut a long story short, Aikido became my hobby, and I've been doing that for 35 years, and I've been practicing it and teaching it, and it's a wonderful thing. I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, I know. I did it for a while, but I started with 50, and I felt a little bit, awkward with all the young people in the room. So, and I couldn't do it for many times a week, only once a week, and I had to give up, sort of.
I know it's a challenging thing, but it has that challenge, and it's interesting.
It is wonderful. I thought people should begin with 15 or something and do that. That would be. I really still am in love with it, but I can't do it.
Anyway, so I persevered, and I reckon I've done my 10,000 hours of training and all that sort of thing. And I kind of discovered about 5 years ago, I decided, well, I've done all this training, etc. But I was doing other work because I happen to live near to the Fintorn Foundation, which is a spiritual community, and they're into all this kind of, practices and courses, etc. And I was doing one or two of those things. And I realized that all the earlier wounding I had in my life was still there. It was still not there. And years of practicing Aikido had made me more supple and healthier and whatever it is, but it actually hadn't cleared what I was setting out for. Okay. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I started thinking, well, here, what am I actually learning in Aikido? And I realized that there's one main thing I was learning. One is when I come onto the mat, before I get onto the mat, I'm in this disconnected mode. Energetically, I'm kind of, I got my head up there and the rest of my body's, I'm disconnected. And I'm kind of like normal, like everybody else. Okay. And then I get off, and then the mat is kind of like a magical space. And the moment I get onto the mat, I suddenly go into connected mode. And then I spend 2 hours practicing how to be connected. Okay, so that's the practice basically. It's how to shift from being disconnected to connected. And then I thought, well, this is a wonderful practice. And then I get off the mat, and I put my clothes on again. I go home, and by the time I get home, I'm disconnected again. And I go into the office, and I'm disconnected. And I go to the supermarket, and I'm disconnected. Everybody's disconnected, and we're all happily disconnected. Okay, so that's what I learned. And then I started thinking, well, this is a sort of traditional spiritual practice. And the thing about spiritual practices is that they take a hell of a long time. So you come in and you start, and you know nothing, and you practice 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 and you practice. And eventually you think you're going to get to a stage of enlightenment and something's going to happen. And you still don't get there, and you still practice, and you still don't get there, and you still practice, etc. And I thought, well, the one thing that I'm practicing is how to be connected. Okay, how come I don't really understand it and I haven't got there? And then I started thinking, realizing, because I was having grandchildren at the time, and I realized my grandchildren, when they were born, actually were born connected. So human beings are born connected. And then I was noticing how they were growing up, and then I was seeing that by the time they get to about 2 years old, and they're starting to think and they're starting to talk, they're actually becoming disconnected. And then they're copying their parents who are disconnected. And then by the time they're 3, 4, whatever it is, they're thoroughly disconnected.
Can I interrupt you a little bit? Could you tell us what you understand by connected and disconnected? Because it's not self-evident what it means. So what do you understand with it?
So what I see as connected is a tree. Okay. So the tree, think of a tree standing on the ground, and it's got roots going deep down into the earth. And think of the earth as an energy field. Okay, so you're now connected deeply with those roots into that matrix, that mother field. Right? And then imagine that energy flows up those roots, so it flows up the trunk of the tree, and that flows up the branches, and then to the leaves, into the sky. And then I imagine it's circulating back and coming back down into the roots. And there's this continuous circulation of energy flowing from below to above. Okay? And at the same time, there's energy that flows from above. Let's take, say, from the sun, right? And it's flowing down through the leaves, through the branches, through the trunk, back down through the roots. And that's circulating in the same way. So you've got 2 energy flows, one from below and one from above. Okay? And the tree is standing between 2 fields of energy. One is the earth, which is one major energy field, and the other is, you could say, the rest of the universe, or it's the sun, whatever you like to call it. And you've then got these 2 polar opposites. You've got the mother earth, and you've got the father sun, and those 2 energy fields are what we're standing between. And when we're connected, the energy is flowing freely through that. And then the tree is very solid the way it stands there. Okay? And what I find, and this is what I learned from the Aikido, is that when we're standing with this vertical thing and the energy should be flowing, and there's a very simple test, which I call a Wobble Test, where if you stand there and you and you push somebody from the front and you push them backwards, and you push them from the back forwards, if they're disconnected, what they happen is they wobble. Why? Because they're not rooted into the earth, they're not rooted in the heaven, the energy is not flowing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yet when, by some kind of magic, they're connected, and you do that test, and you push them, no matter how hard you push, you can't move them from any direction, whether you push from the front, from the side, from the back, they're absolutely rooted like the trunk of a tree. Okay, so that's kind of the one thing that I learned in Aikido.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
And then I find that energetic connection aligns itself with all the thinking of Eastern energy medicine. Okay, so you've got, let's take the meridians, for instance. You've got the yin meridians, and they flow up from the ground. So they flow from the earth up the insides of the legs. So you've got 3 meridians, yin meridians, that flow up the insides of the legs. And then you've got 3 more yin meridians that flow up the insides of the arms. So if you're standing like this, and then you've got 2 other meridians, which are connector meridians, which is the conception vessel that throws up the front of your body, which connects the yin meridians. And then you've got the governor vessel, which flows up your spine. Okay? They all flow up. Okay? Did you know that?
No.
No. You see, it's something as simple as that, and hardly anybody knows that. Okay? But it's an absolute fundamental truth. Then you've got the yang meridians. You've got 3 on the back of your arm, and they flow down. Okay, they're coming from the heaven down. And then you've got the stomach meridian, flows down either side of the conception vessel, down the front of the legs, and then you've got 2 more on the side and the back. Okay, so you've got yin, which flows up from earth to heaven, and you've got yang, which flows down from heaven to earth. Okay, so when you align yourself with those meridians, so if I breathe in, and I'm coming up with the yin, and I breathe out, and I'm going down with the yang, and I breathe in, I do that 3 times, and somebody tests me, I'm so connected I don't move. I don't wobble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Just 3 times.
3 times. Okay.
3 times. All it needs is 3 times. Okay? Then you go back a sec. So I then found that it's actually also related to the breathing. So when we're born, talking about the baby's born, and you can test it. When you find a baby, put your hand on the baby's stomach, and just below the navel is their breathing into their lower belly. It's the natural way of breathing.
Yeah.
Okay? When they crawl, they're breathing into their lower belly. If you were to crawl now, you would find yourself automatically breathing into your lower belly. Okay? But right now, I would wager you're not breathing into your lower belly.
I do.
There are not many people who do.
No,
Are you a singer?
Because I was a singer and I really learned that too.
Okay, so that's one thing. Singers learn how to do that. They connect with their lower belly. Okay, so the lower belly is a really important center. Okay, and when you're breathing into the lower belly, that connects you. And I see that actually as the first stage of connection. So I see it like equivalent to when you go into a dark room and you switch on the light, you've gone from this disconnection, this darkness, right? And you're breathing into your lower belly, now you're connected. And then the next stage is you connecting the meridians all together. And the same exercise connects the chakras. So you've got these energy centers, right? 7 energy centers. And the center of those, by doing this, is you're connecting all of those. Okay, and then you're connecting the aura. So the whole energy field is becoming connected. And the energy pattern that you're describing at the moment is called a torus. T-O-R-U-S. And if you think of the center of the torus energy is in your center of your lower belly, and it's compressed energy, and that energy then expands up when you align with it, and then it comes around as thousands of rays all around you, and then it comes down below your feet, and then it contracts and comes back again. Okay, and in actual fact, it's doing that concurrently in both directions. So it's coming down and up, and that's holding the whole field.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And what I found is that when you actually align yourself with the energy of the torus in this way, you then become immediately connected. So what this is doing is actually is actually the energy of the torus in one direction. And you can do it in 4 directions. And in each of those 4 directions, if you're doing it correctly, you test drop.
Okay.
You don't wobble.
So I understand
4
that.
directions. I can understand 2 directions.
Okay.
For it to be up and down, but you're talking about
okay,
4.
so this is coming from below, up and down. Okay. Now my hands are down. I come up, so I'm going this way, and then I come down here. I come down the stomach meridian this way. Okay. When I'm coming up here, I'm going up the conception vessel, opening up. The yin meridian is up my inside of my arms. Now the yang meridian is coming down the leg. I could do this by bending down, putting my hands on my ankles and coming up the insides of my legs and going all the way up to the top.
Sure.
Okay. So it's a kind of microcosmic circuit and macrocosmic circuit, if you're familiar with those terms. Okay. So now you're coming from above, you come down and up, right? Or you come down, and this time you're coming up the conception vessel here. Do those. So one way of exercising is you do 10 of each of those, and then you're really singing. And then if you want to add into that, you do a figure of 8 moving, not a figure of 8, it's an 8-way, 8 directions, which is a very common Aikido practice. And you're doing this at the same time, and that's really connecting you.
Good. At this point, I hope the echo won't come out into the broadcast, the echo I'm hearing. I wanted to acknowledge our, maybe you can mute yourself while I speak so we are more sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to acknowledge our audience. So far in the comment stream have shown up Lowell Ann, Nolan N. Fusang, and Gina Donaldson. Thank you that you're here and welcome. And Lowell Ann is saying that all of these techniques are used in my choir experience. And and I was going to say, we are doing this with Qigong.
Qigong.
No, this is similar. But what I would like to ask you, we are talking now about techniques and so on, and we are inside the Conscious Aging series. Series. I never know how to pronounce that. Anyway, how can you use what you are doing, or is it directed to older people or to younger people or to whoever? And what benefit would it have to older people for conscious aging? If you want to speak, please. Yeah, okay.
But let me just, I'll answer that question, but let me just finish the process. So what I was indicating there is you don't have to do Aikido. You don't have to spend 35 years being thrown around on the mat in order to learn how to be connected. It's very, very easy to be connected. It really is easy. And there's several gateways to coming in. And I've been studying these various different gateways. There's sound for coming in. There's light. There's various different ways that you can come into there. One of the ways is hugging. So you know about this, oxytocin and all that sort of thing. You hug for 30 seconds.
Okay, we do.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Don't speed it up. Don't speed it up.
And in the therapy that I do, I discovered there's a wonderful test where you can do it, because when people are quite blocked, one of the things that's blocking them is somewhere in their lives they've been maybe open to giving love, but they're unable to receive love, or for them it's unsafe to receive love. And that shows up if you hug that person and you hold that hug for 30 seconds and they don't become connected, that means they're somehow subconsciously they're blocking that energy. And when you unblock that, what you're doing is you've got both giving love and receiving love, and the energy is flowing. Then it's like the equivalent of yin flowing into yang, flowing into yin, flowing into yang, and it's then a hugely therapeutic benefit, and it's so easy to do. Right? You're talking about older people. You know, you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to do anything in order to be able to do this. Okay. So then, let me just show you where it goes from there. So,
yeah, thank you.
and I could go a little bit deeper into getting connected, but I just take my word that it takes 10, 20 minutes to teach somebody how to be connected. So that was a huge breakthrough. Then the question is, where am I holding my blocks? Okay, my blocked energy, my wound.
Yeah. Can I just interrupt a moment, because there is a big fan of you in the audience, and she is Fabiana Meredith, and she says she was blown away when she realized how powerful your program is, and it is highly recommended. Thank you, Fabiana.
Thank you, Fabi. Lovely to see you. I can't see you, but I know you're there. It's wonderful. Okay. So now it's a question of where am I holding my blocks, or where are you holding your blocks? And then you mentioned Qigong just now, okay? And I don't know whether you've done an exercise in Qigong, which is called hugging the tree.
No, I didn't do that one. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, there are lots of different ways of doing Qigong, and one of the way I found is you're standing up there, and in some of these practices that you do this for a year. I mean, you do it an hour a day, and you stand there, and your knees are slightly bent, and your arms are extended around, and you imagine that there's a tree there, and you've got your arms around a round tree. Okay, wonderful. So I thought, well, that's very interesting. Now,
can I do also that with a real tree? I have a favorite tree right here behind the house.
well, you can do it with a real tree if you want, and you can feel the energy of the tree. But let me explain what I learned from this.
Okay.
So let's say, well, this is now, my hands are now facing my heart chakra. Okay? So now, what happens if my heart chakra is closed, and somebody then comes and pushes my fingers towards each other like this? Okay? If my heart is closed, it'll then be easy to push it together. If my heart is open, it won't move.
Oh,
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's open, then the energy is flowing here, and it's very strong. Okay? Somebody tries to push the fingers together, no matter how hard they push, it doesn't move. Okay? Now I've got a weakness there. I've got blocked energy. It comes together. Okay? So I was playing around with that, and then I discovered that you can do the same thing with the throat chakra, and then you can go to the third eye, and then you can go to the crown. Okay? And then you can go to the solar plexus and the second chakra and the root chakra. So within 5 or 10 minutes, you can immediately identify where somebody is blocked in which of their chakras. Okay, because this is where we're holding it.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Now, I haven't seen anybody else do anything like that. I mean, everybody knows about, well, most people who've done Qigong know about that, but they haven't actually applied it. So what I've done is taken how to go from being in separation, in disconnection to connection, right? How to identify where your blocks are. And then the third step is being fully connected, right? The discovery is that it's really, really easy to let go of those blocks.
Oh, that sounds like miraculous.
It's not miraculous. It's what is actually is realizing actually how stupid we are as human beings. Not necessarily stupid.
Well, that's miraculous, yes.
Well, I shouldn't say that we're stupid. We're so into being disconnected. Disconnected is so important for us that we'll find any way, any excuse not to become connected.
Okay. That's the fear, no? What you're talking about.
It's the fear. And even spiritual people and all that sort of thing. I mean, I had a Church of England vicar staying with me. Okay. most lovely man, full of love, wonderful person. Okay, and we were having breakfast, and I was telling him what I was doing. He said, "Well, okay, show me." I showed him, and he wobbled, and then I showed him how not to wobble, and he's strong. And I said, "Do you want me to show you where you might be holding blocked energy?" He said, "Okay, give it a go." He was thinking he didn't have any blocked energy. I mean, he prays, he does all the things. So anyway, so we started with a heart. Heart was wonderful, strong as anything. We go up, throat, etc. All this absolutely, totally clear. And then we go to the solar plexus. Oh, no strength there. We go to the sacral chakra, no strength. We go to the root, no strength. So here we are. The person has devoted himself to prayer and to doing good work and all that sort of thing. Totally open in the upper chakras and blocked in the lower chakras.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's not a criticism.
No,
I'm just saying that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So if you go back historically, so I don't know that much about it, but I've read for 25,000 years, human beings were connected through a matriarchy. So we were connected with the earth. The Mother Earth was our energetic connection. And I imagine that at that time, our lower chakras were open. Okay, and maybe our upper chakras were not open.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3,000 years ago, these guys come along and they say, well, all this sort of lower chakra stuff is, sex and God knows what, not very healthy. What we want to do is we want to look up. We want to go up to God. And God is up there, not down there. He's up there, right? Forget about her. She's just wicked and trouble. And let's focus on things. And then we focus on opening the upper chakras. And what happens is we close the lower chakras. See?
Intentionally, we did this in our societies.
It was progress.
No?
It was
a
like move.
Disconnect from the body and from everything, which could hinder us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're sitting here, and with the people I work with, is I find it's mixed. Sometimes they've got some of them blocked. Very often throat chakra is blocked, and then maybe some other lower chakra, and it varies. So it's not consistent in the same way. But I've hardly met anybody who doesn't have holding some block somewhere. I've only met one person, actually, Fabi. Thank you, Fabi, for reminding me. Was one person who, when I tested her, was completely clear. And if you had a chance of explaining why, that would be actually quite valuable.
She has written another comment. She said, "It is true, Michael's technique unblocks instantly. I was amazed," she says.
Right.
And as we are reading the comments, there is also Laurel Ann. She says, "I've seen this hugging the tree used by people trying to determine what supplements are needed by their body." Do you know about that?
No, I didn't know. Very interesting. Thank you very much for that comment. I might explore that further. Very interesting.
And then Fabiana adds, "I had never seen or experienced anything like it before." So she is really 1000% with your technique.
She sure is.
Thank you.
It's great to hear that.
Okay, so now we know how to be connected. We know where we're blocked. And there are various ways of double checking. So you can use muscle testing to see how blocked you are. So let's say I'm blocked in my solar plexus, and I say, well, I'm now more than 50% clear, weak or strong, and then you can tell, right? And then you go through it, and then you'll find some are not so disconnected. They might be 60% clear, but you might find one which is only 10% clear. Okay, so that's where the most wounding is sitting.
That's sort of the diagnosis. Yeah. Then.
Right. So we've got the diagnosis, and then you can actually do. I discovered is with Mongolian chanting. And I know thought that was very crazy. And I find that when you go, and the vowel sounds correspond to each of the chakras. So this is E, A, R, O.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, okay. Now, before we clearing everything, I test somebody. So let's say I think that the heart is blocked. I tested weak with a Qigong. I say, let's do ah, and then I test, right, with the Wobble Test, and invariably they wobble. Okay. Then we go through the clearing process, and then it tests again. We do the R, and they're strong. Okay. Why? Because it's a double test to see whether we've actually cleared it or not. Right. So now this is the ridiculous thing. I mean, it is totally ridiculous. It only needs an intentional statement, a clearing statement, when you're connected to actually clear the block. Right, now think about that. You've had that block all your life since you were 3 years old. You may have even inherited it. Okay, and in the process of a few minutes, you've discovered how to be like you were when you were born, connected. Okay, so you're reversing the process, right? You discovered where you're holding the block, and then you discovered a very simple, magical incantation which clears it.
That's the best kind of magic.
Right.
Yeah.
And the clearing statement is something like, I release and let go anything in all time, space, dimensions, and reality that is preventing me from releasing and letting go whatever is blocking me in my heart center. I release and let go. Okay, it's just an intention. And before, when we were doing this and it was weak like this, now you test it again, you can't move it. Right, now before I was using the clearing statement, I was doing energetic clearing. And I was actually taking the energy up the spine and then coming down and then clearing it that way. So what I do now is both. So I do the clearing statement. Well, what I do is in the process of teaching someone how to be connected, I show them how to use a little mantra which will immediately take them to becoming connected. So it's like a self-hypnosis. So my mantra is, I am infinite love. I am infinite love. Right? So I am the energy of the cosmos. I am the energy of source. I am source energy. I am God. I am Jesus. I am Mary. I am whatever it is you want, like. I am this energy. Okay? And that then immediately connects me. Right? I release and let go anything. And then what I do is we're now using energetic clearing. So we're thinking of bringing up this energy, this source energy, infinite love, up from the earth, from the mother, up the inside of the legs, up the spine, up the governor vessel, all the way up to the top of the head with the in-breath. And then with the out-breath, we're coming down through the center of all your chakras. Let's say now my heart chakra, whatever's blocked there, the infinite love is coming down with the out-breath, coming down, and then through the outside of the legs, down into the earth, and right down into the center of the earth. And then I use it just a concept. I say, well, there's a cosmic septic tank sitting there, bottom of the earth, and all that shit that you've been holding there all this time, all you're doing is you're just going down the drain pipe and letting it go.
So I would be interested, as we share the knowledge of integral theory, for instance, where they make the difference between stateless and states. I imagine that this is a state experience. How do you create a state out of that? I mean, a constant dwelling in this consciousness, let's say.
Okay, so that's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about that for quite a while, and for me, and I may be wrong, but what I see is there's two things happening in the world. You've got most of humanity have become disconnected, and they're very happy being disconnected, and they stay disconnected. Okay, that's the state. And then you get spiritual seekers who say, they realize that they've been wounded earlier on, and they're separate from God, or whatever it is, and they're now trying to find their way back, and they're on this quest. And then what they're trying to do is to find and be in this state of connectedness, oneness. Okay, and you might say, well, I'll go and do Zen meditation, and I'll leave the world. I'll go into a monastery. I'll sit on a black cushion for 8 hours a day, and I'll meditate, and eventually I will get there. Okay. So that's then saying, I'm so enraptured with this thing of being in oneness, in connection, that I want to be there all the time. Okay. But then I was thinking about it. It's not very practical, spending all your life sitting on a cushion. You're missing out quite a lot. And it's not very good being stuck in being disconnected. So what I see is that the practice really is how to move between disconnection and connection to disconnection to connection to disconnection to connection, so that as you get the practice develops, you can then actually be in a continuous flow.
Yeah.
So when you're in disconnection, you feel some kind of resistance. But something upset me. Something didn't work. Somebody made something annoying, whatever it is. Donald Trump came up on the, no, I shouldn't say that. Something upset me. I felt the resistance. Okay, so now I feel, well, when I'm doing that, I'm giving away my power to whatever it is that's upsetting me. What I need to do is say, hang on, I stop. I'm feeling this resistance. What do I need to do? I need to get connected. So I breathe. Am I connected with my lower belly? I am infinite love. Right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm in a position I can let go of that resistance. And the practice, the simple practice, is that I surrender into, because when I get connected, it's not just this energy field here. I'm connected with the whole field of light, or universe, or the cosmos, or whatever you'd like to call it. Right? I am one with that energy field, and I surrender into that field, and then I let go of this little, whatever it is, this niggling thing, which is where I'm giving away my power. Does that make sense?
The way you're describing that makes me understand that to a certain extent anyway, this is going on continually with me and perhaps with others, that we move from the resistance to the acceptance. We go back and forth. I listen to what you say and I'm saying, I'm not quite sure what he means by that. And I feel a little bit, okay. And then you explain it and I can move forward into it. And it's my consciousness just seems to work this way with so many aspects of my life. It's not that I'm saying I have a discipline that promotes this or anything, but I think in some ways it's a recognition that this is an essential, deep process that is quite continual, quite flowing. And my life works better than it used to.
Well, there you are. You see, that's exactly, and the whole thing is how to make it simple.
Yeah.
Okay, and uncomplicated, and that's kind of, as you say. So acceptance. I accept. I don't agree with what somebody's saying. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Right? That's what they say, and I just hear it. Okay, and it's not actually changing me or whatever it is. So that's kind of, and it's a very easy practice once you actually have the intention of doing it.
So coming back on the topic aging, what would you say about that? How can that be? Is this a way to lose, for instance, the fear of the end of life or something?
Well, what I would say with anybody is, and also aging, is, got a whole life, and we've been disconnected most of the time, and the chances are we're still holding on those core wounds, which are what makes us human. Okay, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that that's how it is. We humans have decided that we are better off when we're disconnected. We have the illusion that we're in control of the world, what's going on. And what holds us in disconnection is our subconscious intention to hold on to a wound, or one or two wounds, that that drive us forward all the time to be competitive and to be successful and to survive and whatever it is we need to do. Okay, and that's the fear element. So we're essentially driven by fear, and fear of, in our old age we won't be able to support ourselves. In our old age we might get ill. In our old age, whatever might happen, our children may abandon us, whatever it is, and that keeps us going. Okay? And it's been up to now very useful. So what I'm saying is that if one wants to have a more harmonious old age, or harmonious young age at any time, then if one, it comes down to this decision, and this is a really big decision, and the way I see it is humanity has had this state of woundedness, collective woundedness, for something like 70,000 years. Why do I say 70,000? Because 70,000 years ago there was an ice age, and we were almost wiped out. Our ancestors, maybe about 1,000 pairs left, so we were down to virtually nothing. And somehow we managed to pull ourselves out of that and be where we are now. And what I suspect it was that somewhere around there, either before or after, we actually developed this power of being able to think. Okay, and what keeps us disconnected is this: our thoughts.
Yep.
Right?
It was a great survival tool.
Yeah, when I breathe into my lower belly and I concentrate on breathing into my lower belly, my thoughts disappear. I can't think. All I can do is focus on breathing into my lower belly.
Which doesn't mean that thinking is bad, no? But it depends on when we use it.
Exactly. So thinking is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, but it's also, in my view, is the root cause of our disconnection. It's, if you think about the story of Adam and Eve, okay, you know, they were in the Garden of Eden, and there's the tree of knowledge, and knowledge somehow represents our ability to think and communicate in symbolic language. Okay, and then Eve, of course, the woman, took the apple, right, fruit, and then suddenly we were cast out of the Garden of Eden, and we were ashamed of our nakedness. Okay, so the root wound, right? Go into that wound is our shame. Somehow it goes right down to that root, and we're holding on to that shame. You know, we don't walk around the streets with nothing on. We'd be ashamed. Okay, why not? You know, my dog goes running around the street, not ashamed, but we have that shame, plus all sorts of other things, guilt, fear, etc.
Well, it makes sense, of course.
Yeah, and it has a reason. The shame. It's not that it was just.
So what I'm getting at now is so the wound actually, if you think about this, maybe been going for 70,000 years, we're becoming more and more disconnected as we go along. Is the wound has got us to where we are at the moment. Okay, so it's incredibly valuable. It's sacred.
Yeah, it is.
They don't teach us about it in school. Nobody tells us we've got a wound. Our mother doesn't tell us we've got a wound. We kind of find out when we go into do therapy and things like that. But so it's no big deal. It's something that you don't talk about. Right? But it's there. Now, what I'm saying is that it's actually very easy to let it go. It was easy to get it, and it's just as easy to let it go. And now,
are you now talking, excuse me, about personal wounds or collective wounds? Because I just come from a conference in Germany where we talked about the collective wounding of the German people by what has happened in the last century. What we had allowed to happen in the last century. So this is certainly not my own personal wounding, but it is coming into the next generation of the perpetrators and of the victims. So it's collective.
Well, I know all about that wound because my father was in Germany and he fled from Hitler. And my mother was in Vienna and she fled from Hitler.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know about the pain and the suffering and all that sort of thing. So that's part of my wound.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that what I started off saying is what we need to do is to actually trigger a quantum shift in consciousness. And what that entails is healing our individual core wound, okay, in order to be able to help to heal the collective core wound.
Okay.
Hear you. Yeah.
And the insight is unless we manage to heal, this is the moment in history where humanity's come to the point where unless we heal our core wound, right, unless we have this quantum shift, we probably will not go to the next stage. because we've got a number of problems which are coming up, which are so big, and they're not about you and me, they're actually about all of us.
I agree.
Climate change is not about you and me, it's about all of us together. And as we all of us collectively come together and decide what to do about it and do something about it, we're not going to survive.
So I'm playing a little bit the devil's advocate. Old people can say, oh, it doesn't interest to me, I won't live so long anymore, and blah, 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 blah. On the other hand, my idea is that older people have now the possibility to do that because they are not anymore in the treadmill of children and whatever.
Well, Michael and I have 25, 30 more years to work on this. Yes. Get
Well,
the
I've
work.
got a, well, I don't, my wife has a parrot, and the parrot is now 40 years old.
Yeah.
And it could grow to 70 years old.
Yeah.
And somehow we've got to keep going for another 30 years just to look after the parrot, because our kids refuse to take the parrot.
Yeah, responsibilities here. Opportunities,
Forget about the planet.
responsibilities.
The parrot is paramount, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But actually, you know, I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old grandchild. And, you know, if things carry on the rate they're going with rising temperature and all that sort of thing, they probably won't get to old age. And great-grandchildren, forget about it.
Yeah.
Chances of having great-grandchildren, you can just let it go.
In your experience,
Yeah.
and I guess this is bringing it back to the aging question too, at what point do people start to be open to these possibilities? You talked about yourself of about age 35, suddenly,
Right.
you know, opening up and getting interested and starting to follow a discipline. Is that a more or less rough case estimate of where people can start to listen to these concerns?
Well, it's a very good question. I'm looking for people who want to be quantum shift facilitators. Okay? And I'm kind of looking for absolute needles in a haystack.
Okay.
And when I do a tick list of all the things that they need to think, first of all, they need to realize that we are facing one or two existential problems, okay, which affect the collective, not the individual. So if you're worried about, you know, getting rid of the water on your face or whatever it is that's causing the problem, that's kind of, you know, one thing. But we've got a collective problem, and we can't deal with it individually. We have to deal with it collectively. So for example, you know, global warming, just for example, you know, we need to be spending now something like 2% of GDP every year till 2050 to go from fossil fuel to clean energy. 2% is the equivalent of defense.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to make a choice. Say, stop having our armies and atomic weapons and all that sort of thing and shooting each other and having wars. And stop doing that. Let's go and get clean energy and everything that entails with that if you want to survive. So what does it take for humanity to come together instead of all being individuals, me, to say we can go like, sometimes you see a flock of birds, starlings, you see them, and they fly in the air, and you see, you know, 40,000 of them in the air, and they're all connected, they're all flying together in one thing, together. How does humanity come together to deal with a problem which affects all of us and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, to actually deal with the problem?
Yeah, and we know also that 70 to 75% of the people of the world are still in ecocentric state of development. How would you think to be able to get them out quickly into the awareness that not only me is important, but the whole world and the climate and whatever it is?
And everybody in the next valley and on the next mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if I walk down the street and I look at everybody and I think, we've had it, we haven't got a hope in hell. Okay? Because nobody wants to change. And I can't change anybody.
No.
And I spent 25 years studying integral theory, Ken Wilber, okay, and all the stages of development. going from this to that to red to green to orange to green, etc. And then the second tier, field, whatever you want to call it, the tiny percentage of people got to the point where they have a level of consciousness where they're conscious of consciousness. Okay? And it's 1%, 2%. It's a tiny, tiny, small percentage of humanity. And I think it's fantastic. We're going in the right direction. And then I say, well, how long does it take for the rest of humanity to catch up, going the same way we're doing at the moment? And I got really depressed because I thought it's going to take 1,000 years or whatever it is. We don't have 1,000 years. We have, if we're lucky, we have 5 years within which to make a shift and change of how our attitude to some of these problems. It's nothing, right? So I had to let go of all that integral theory, of all that spiral dynamics, etc., and say there has to be a way in which we can actually do this almost instantly. So anybody, and it's not just you and me, it has to be everybody, otherwise it doesn't work. And we have to go, let's say 99% of everybody's in fear at the moment. Has to go from 99% to everybody coming from love. We want to simplify it. Okay? And that is a massive jump. It really is a quantum leap. It's just absolutely huge. And most people hardly change at all in their whole lifetime in terms of consciousness.
Yeah. So how do you think you can do that?
Right. Okay. So first of all, it's now very easy to show somebody how to make a shift within their own consciousness. Right. It's very easy to show them how to be connected, to go from disconnection to connected. It's very easy to show them where they're blocked. It's very easy to clear the blocks. It's very easy to teach them the practice of how to stay clear and how to look at their habits, etc. And partly the process is it's easier when you do it together than when you do it on your own.
Yeah.
So it's easy to take someone through the process of letting go, and then when I encourage people actually to become part of a group and then support each other for 3 to 6 months to work through all the little bits, because they keep falling back. They go into a danger zone, what I call a danger zone, and then they're going to get triggered. And they forgot to actually deal with it. They forgot, oh yeah, put your hand up. Now I've got to be connected. I've got to go through the process. I've got to clear myself. And sometimes they get deep into the pit, and then it takes much longer to get back again. So that's a practice. So basically I'm saying we have the tools within 6 months to take anybody who wants to. Can't force anybody. Anybody wants to a state of enlightenment that might have taken a lifetime or several lifetimes previously. So it is totally possible. Okay. So then what it is how do you actually create an infrastructure to roll that out? So what we've created is a training program for facilitators. 6-month program. Clear your blocks. And if in the Hawkins scale, which is a wonderful way of measuring consciousness, you've got a scale of 1 to 1,000, and it's a log scale, so it goes up exponentially. And 1,000 is the highest consciousness that Hawkins knew, which he described as Buddha consciousness or Christ consciousness. Okay, so that's as good as it gets. And then he kind of, using muscle testing, kinesiology, he calibrated emotional attractors all the way down. Okay, so at the bottom of that was shame. So shame was 20 on the scale, and then guilt is 30, and then fear is 100, so very low down there. And then you go up, and 200 is a sort of big point. So about 80% of humanity calibrate below 200.
Yeah.
They're stuck in these kind of emotional stuff, where the blocks are. And we're running out of time now, aren't we? So shall I just finish?
Yeah, just find the sort of a roundup, because I would also like to acknowledge there were 2 other comments here. Lowell, and this is truly interesting, a way to progress to the next level of consciousness. Clear the personal wound in order to clear the collective wounds. Lots to explore. Yeah. And Fabiana says, as every day is a gift. If we are able to live one more day, is truly astounding, no matter what our age is. It probably when we talked about age before.
Well, what I'm willing to offer anybody who's here and who hears this thing is an experience of how to actually clear your blocks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it's a 2-hour process which we can do over Skype, and the person needs to have a partner there who could be there to show them when they're connected or disconnected. Okay, so you need to feel it in your body, mind, your energy field. So I'm offering that, and what I can do is I can put up on the screen a link, and all they got to do is have a chat with me, and then we can get the thing going. That'd be useful. So
this is an introduction session of a practice which you do with the people for free?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they can see how it goes, but mainly I'm interested in people who want to do it because they want to see that it works. So basically I'm claiming that I can take somebody to a quantum shift in their own consciousness, a substantial expansion of consciousness in as little as 2 hours if they want to do it.
So you want to put that up on the screen? Want to share the screen and show them?
I'll do that then, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
So let's go to the bottom there. So here we go. So those are 2 links there.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Maybe we read it, www.meetme.so/free chat.
Free chat. Mm-hmm. And on the bottom, it's www.freedomwithin.org/programs/clear-your-blocks/
Yeah.
Okay.
In case it will be on a podcast, no?
Sure.
So they cannot see the slide. Yeah, thank you. Whoever feels inspired, contact Michael and be a part of the change in the world.
Yeah,
no, I would say.
It's an exciting program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Excellent.
get out of that.
You need to click on the left side on the green box with the arrow.
Yeah, there we go. Now we're back.
No, not yet.
Yeah, there you
are
go.
back.
Okay. Well, this has been a great show, and we're diving deeply into something, and it seems very exciting. And I'm sure there are people there who are going to be interested in this.
Yeah, and there were quite a few people here live, and there will be many more people to watch that during the weeks and months on YouTube. So prepare yourself that slowly you will get people who will call on you.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me just say quickly, because this is for people who are older people.
Okay.
What I've discovered is this: the underlying wound that we have, okay, which is manifested initially in the blocks. So what we do is we clear the blocks, and then we find there's still aspects of the wound still there, and a little bit more work in order to completely clear the wound, heal the wound. But the wounding, is the underlying root cause for all sorts of problems we have later on in life. Okay, so it could be physical problems like ill health. It could be mental problems, right? It could be relationship problems, whatever it is. And what I'm saying is this is a very, very easy way of actually clearing the root of the problem, which then has a very high chance of leading to a healing of it.
Wonderful.
Sounds good.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we need to try it out.
Yeah.
No, I thank you very much because today I understood a little better because we had a talk before privately, some months ago, and I didn't really get it. But today, and I didn't want to know it before because so genuinely today I can ask you questions, because I didn't know it. Now I have the feeling that somehow I got it.
Yeah, it is. So we will be posting this. It'll be up on YouTube almost immediately. And then this weekend, tomorrow, hopefully, but this weekend, I will have timestamps so people can go and see, each topic that we discussed along the way. And of course, there'll be the connections to you plastered all over the place, so it'll be easy. It'll be easy for people to get in touch.
Okay, I thank you at this point, and I thank everybody who has shown up and has written the comments, but also the ones who have not yet written the comments. And I invite you to write the comments on the website, the Wisdom Factory .net. And then we have From Fear to Love. You'll find it there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it for today. And we will be back with the Conscious Aging series in October. But stay tuned. We will have some other podcasts to other topics.
Yep.
Next week, it's about how to create connection between people, the sort of dispersed people who want to change the world. And in 2 weeks, this guy here will talk with a friend of us about their
drug experiences. Going back to the 60s. No, not lately. Not lately.
No. Okay. Thank you very much who has watched today and who will watch in the future. And please, how do you say, subscribe for our YouTube channel, The Wisdom Factory. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Heidi. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye.